She walks in beauty like the night of cloudless climes and starry skies, and all that's best of dark and bright meet her aspect and her eyes. That is one of the most famous lines of poetry ever written. You may or may not have heard that little passage before, but guess what? That's what I'm here for. I'm here to teach you guys about yet another figure in Gothic literature, Lord Byron. I kind of feel bad for neglecting to mention him in my video about Gothic literature, but that's what I'm going to rectify here. So, there is a good reason for it. He was such a huge influence on other figures in literature, such as Edgar Allan Poe, certainly Percy Shelley, who was the husband of Mary Shelley, who wrote Frankenstein, even Charles Baudelaire. Even he was influenced by Lord Byron. And he's influenced so many others and influenced our popular culture, and he's the reason why we use the term Byronic hero when we are discussing archetypes and characters. So, let's get into Lord Byron. He was born January 22nd, 1788. Lord Byron was born with a clubbed foot, a deformity that he would live with for the rest of his life. He was also known to have very emotional relationships with other boys in the schools that he attended. Now, back then that was considered kind of a no-no. Big no-no. Oh boy. One particular boy that Byron was said to have fallen in love with was John Eddleton, and Byron strenuously defended his love for him, saying that it was pure and passionate. He began accumulating his works of poetry in his school years, later traveling very extensively when he was through. He settled in Geneva, Switzerland in 1816, famously called the Year Without a Summer. He was with his traveling physician John Polidori, who was the famous writer of the first modern vampire novel, The Vampire, suitably named, the poet Percy Bysshe Shelley, and Mary Godwin, later to become the bride of Percy Shelley, and she would later go on to write Frankenstein. And of course, Mary Shelley's stepsister was also there. He was one of the women with whom Byron was having a very stormy affair with. While at Lake Geneva, they challenged each other to come up with the spookiest ghost story. Now, from this challenge arose Frankenstein or the Modern Prometheus by Mary Shelley. They also passed the time by reading Phantasmagoria. Byron himself produced a fragment of what is known as Childe Harold's Pilgrimage, one of his most famous volumes of poetry. He moved on to Venice, Italy, and continued to have affairs with two married women, I think at the same time. Oh boy. Between 1818 and 1820, he wrote the next 5 installments of Don Juan. He also went on to marry an Italian noblewoman. Following his marriage, Percy Shelley was known to visit Byron and described his routine and the many exotic animals that Byron kept. A short time after settling in Greece in 1824, Lord Byron fell ill. For a short while, he showed signs of improvement, but then gradually got worse. And on April 19th of that year, at the age of 36, the Greeks heavily mourned his death, regarding him as a national hero, helping them in the war against Turkey. They embalmed him, removed his heart, kept it in Greece, and, well, not Greece as in, like, Greece that you fry stuff in, but in Greece, the country. Sorry, that was weird. And sent the rest of his remains back to England. It took years for a proper monument to be raised in his honor in England because of his questionable behavior, but he was finally buried in Westminster Abbey. I hope you enjoyed that very brief bio about Lord Byron. And trust me, he was a very interesting guy, certainly. And if we didn't have Lord Byron, we probably wouldn't have had as prominent figures as Edgar Allan Poe and several others, really. I have his complete poetical works here, as you can see. Yeah, fun stuff. And I actually got this in a used bookstore when I was attending college in Pullman, Washington. So, if ever you can get your paws on Lord Byron, please do. He is really a treat to read, very romantic, a little sappy at times, a little bit bordering on sexually frustrated, but trust me, not as much as Charles Baudelaire. Oh my god. But certainly he's a very interesting fellow to read, and I really hope that you guys look into him, and maybe you can learn something a little bit about yourself by reading him. I certainly did. Oh, I hope you guys enjoyed that video. Leave a comment below telling me what you think of Lord Byron. Do you enjoy reading him? Is this your first time hearing about him? Are you excited about reading his works now? I really hope so. Please, I really hope so. Airplane sounds scary. Not really. Like this video if you enjoyed it, and don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you guys later. Bye!